every time I heard no, I said, fine, I'll show you I can do it. Now, this was all within Nortel environment while I was working full-time there. It's the same situation in other cases as well. So when we were starting, so currently the company that we have today, Aydin, we're a software company. And we basically started off the way we started off was I wanted to raise money for another company. And this was in the early days of YouTube. And people have this idea that when you have this technology idea, you don't want to share it with anyone. Because if you do, they'll steal your idea. Like, walking down the aisles, that was my idea first. That sort of thing. So everyone thought that, and I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to, and people in Ottawa all rejected me and said, no, we're not going to invest in you. This is a technology idea in the internet space. You should go to Silicon Valley in California. So I don't know anyone in Silicon Valley. How am I going to do that? So anyway, so I taped myself pitching my idea, and I emailed 1,000 venture capitalists in California. It took me like 48 hours straight. It was crazy. And I put my video on YouTube, and this was during the early days when none of this stuff was conventional. And to my surprise, I got a lot of responses back, not because they thought my idea was great, but because they thought what I was doing was interesting, sending my video pitch. So much so that a whole bunch of blogs across the internet started writing about it, criticizing how stupid this idea was. Like, look at this guy, that's not how you raise money. You don't it's not like mass marketing, who wants to invest? It doesn't work that way. So they criticize it. Not only did the blogs criticize it, but the comments, people from all over the world, that I didn't know with these anonymous names, and people like to criticize to begin with, but once you give them anonymity, it's crazy. They just go over and bashing everything, not only is your idea stupid, your methodology is stupid, blah, blah. So then I thought, this is really bad, I should probably take this video off the internet. And that made it even worse, because then blogs were writing about, who has the video, I want to see it, what is this guy doing? And anyway, so my partner and I, who's actually sitting in the back, and mentors are a good thing, who's my mentor for this first company, he looked at it and says, these people, they really like criticizing. I wonder if there's money to be made around criticizing. Right? And we said, most of the criticism is garbage, I agree, but some of it could be valuable. You can get constructive criticism. And we said, well, what if people, would put up an idea and they get people to constructively criticize it, and then you could use some of the valuable things, and maybe some companies would pay for that. Company putting up, video advertisement, getting some critique, that sort of thing. So we started a company around this. We worked on it for 6 months. A lot of hard work, again, no salary, no money, no nothing. We worked on this for 6 months, and we thought it was a brilliant idea. And people around us were encouraging, and they said it was a good idea too. And anyway, 6 months later, we find out that it's the most ridiculous thing we've ever done. And the reason for that was because we did, in hindsight, who the hell goes up in public and says, I will pay you to criticize me? It just isn't. But at the time, it seemed like the perfect idea. So we were at that point, and we were thinking, all right, we could do one thing now. We could quit and go back to doing whatever, finding something else, going back to work or something like that, or we could just change it around. And sometimes people don't say no to you. Sometimes it's the situation or the world around you that says no. It doesn't have to be a verbal no. So we took it around and we started approaching customers. And a lot of people in the community, actually Tony's program, the Talent First Network, helped us a lot. They believed in us, and they said, they put us in touch with customers, gave us our first support. We were actually incubated in Algonquin College for the longest time. We didn't have an office, so they let us, work through in one of their classrooms. And essentially, we turned the product around. We said, okay, well, what if we changed the word criticism? Because people have an issue with that. What if we just magically transformed it into feedback? It's kind of the same thing, but it sounds nicer. And we said, well, will people pay for feedback? And it turns out that people were considering paying for feedback. And so eventually, we morphed a lot, talked to a lot of customers, and eventually the tool became what is known as fluidsurveys.com today, which is the #1 online survey tool in Canada. Not too bad from an idea that was So basically, the way fluidsurveys.com works is that there are people from all across the world, probably 98% of which we don't know, that come onto our website. They pay us a monthly fee, and they use our software to create surveys and forms, and they send it out to other people to gather feedback. Everyone from federal government to hospitals, colleges, universities, small business, big business use the software. So sometimes no is a good thing, because I'm not saying that if you hear no, that you should try doing the same thing over and over again, because they say that's the definition of insanity. But what you want to do is change your methodology and don't let the environment say no to you. And the final story, and I'll make it quick, is something that was probably the most inspiring story that helped me throughout this whole period, was the story of Sylvester Stallone and Rocky. I'm sure you've all seen the movie, but you probably don't know the story behind it. Sylvester Stallone, for the bulk of his life, what he wanted to do is he wanted to become an actor, not just any actor, some major actor. So he tried doing that, but the only roles that they would give him were, roles where he'd get beat up in a movie, like he'd be the thug, and they'd beat him up, and that's all he had. But that didn't stop him. He just kept on doing it, trying to get better roles. And he said that at one point, I got thrown out of 1,500 agencies in New York. I said to him, but there aren't 1,500 agencies in New York. He said, yeah, I know, I've been to each one like 6 times. So anyway, he keeps doing this, and things get really bad. They have no money, and it gets so bad that at one point he decides it's a good idea to sell his wife's jewelry. Now, I'm not married, but I'm told that's a bad thing. Yeah. It was because his wife just divorced him. Anyway, so after that point, he kept doing this whole thing. Things got so bad that he decided to sell his only best friend in the world, which was his dog. And back then there wasn't eBay, so he stood in front of a liquor store, and anyone passing by, do you want to buy my dog? He said, I want to sell it for 50 bucks. The guy negotiated him down to 25. So he sold his best friend in the world for 25 bucks. Pretty sad. And so what he does is he goes to a bar, all demotivated, sad, and he sees this one inspirational movie, like a match between Muhammad Ali and someone else, and he gets the idea of Rocky. And he starts writing this down. He claims 24 hours straight, he wrote this down, he wrote the entire script of the Rocky movie. And then the next step is, let's go out and sell this thing. So he goes again, the whole thing, go from agency to agency, see who's going to buy the script. And no one buys the script, no one buys the script. One day, there's this group that's super interested in what he has to offer. And they say to him, we'll offer you $125,000 for your script. I mean, for a man who sold his dog for 25 bucks, that's a lot of money. Anyway, so he said, okay, but there's a catch. You see, I've always had this goal of being this actor, like this famous actor, and I kind of have to play the main role. And they said, I mean, look at you, you talk like that, hey Adrian, and your lip is like this, and there's no way you can be a main actor. We need like someone mainstream. Come on, we're paying you $125,000. Get out of here. Anyway, so he said, fine, you don't want it, I'm out. And that was his goal. He knew his outcome. They said no to his actual goal, and he turned it down. Same group approaches him after 2 weeks, offers him $250,000. And same deal, he says no, because that's not what his outcome was. And he gets more motivated. So anyway, they offered him $325,000 for the same deal, and they said, this is our final offer, there's absolutely no way. Like, if you do not accept this, it's over, and you will crash and burn, we'll tell everyone about you, and no one else will trust you either. And anyway, so he said no to that as well. Anyway, so they come back a couple of weeks later and they say, fine, you're so stubborn, but we'll offer you $35,000. Okay, we know this movie's going to fail, but at least this way we're not going to lose as much. So he offers him $35,000, and all these bad things that he heard throughout the way, he got to read in front of the audience when he won all those Academy Awards and such. And so once he gets his $35,000, the first thing that he does is, you think he'd go party, he goes back to the liquor store to try and find his dog. So he stays there for a couple of days. Finally, the guy shows up with his dog and says, listen, it's my best friend in the world. It's tough times, now I want him back. I will offer you $50 for the dog. You'll double your money in no time, and that's amazing. And the guy said, no, I'm attached to him, I can't just do that. So he offers him $100, and then $200, and $300. Offers him $1,000, the guy still says no. Apparently this negotiation goes on to the point where he buys his dog back for $16,000 and a role in the Rocky movie. So that guy was actually in the Rocky movie. So this is a true story, and I'll end it at that. It's just to say that you have to be obsessed with that word. It's either people or the situation. But every time, if you hear it, you get more excited. There's nothing that can stop you.